You can't see me because I've got my invisible suit on. Ta-da! And welcome to the Ruby Tuesday. My name is Ruben, and this is my review for Netflix's go at the Ghost in the Shell series. It's Ghost in the Shell 2045 animated series review. So if, like me, you have grown up watching anime, your first introduction to anime films most likely were the ones that people said, you need to watch these films. And normally there are things like Akira, Ninja Scroll, Ghost in the Shell, and if you have dodgy friends, Legend of the Overfiend.
Sperm, right.
But Ghost in the Shell since then has spawned let's say a universe. There has been the standalone complex, which was quite well received. You've had other films as well. We've had the live adaptation, which wasn't that well received. But for the most part, people talk about the Ghost in the Shell film alongside with the Akira film as being one of the best, and definitely one of the films that kind of draws people into the world of anime. And so now Netflix have done this adaptation, 12 episodes, 24 to 25 minutes apiece. It's CG. We're back with the Major and her team, mostly. There are a few new members, and it's set about 15 years after the standalone complex. We see her team, the Major, her team and a few new members take on a mission that is not really the mission that they expect it to be. Later on, they find out that they have a much deeper role to find out what's going on, and as always, it's to do with AI, it's to do with this world that is now, post-apocalyptic. Humans are almost extinct, we're trying to fight our extinction, and there's always something that's going to go wrong. The story is not where I have issues with. The story was quite fun, and if you allow yourself to get into it and you can get past the issues that it has, then I think you'll enjoy it. A few episodes in, the Major will regroup with those characters that you love from Standalone Complex, the original Section 9 team, and there are some new members, like I said, to the characters. The voice work, for the most part, is okay as well, although on Netflix, at the moment, there isn't an English version. It's the original language. Apparently, English is pending, whatever that means. So hopefully, if you don't like reading subtitles, there will be a dub version, but for me, I watched it in its original language, which is fine. Unfortunately, the original language is great, but the matching up, the syncing to the mouth movements on the characters seemed really strained, like they didn't quite work. There seemed to be too many syllables for the mouth movements. They didn't seem to work that well. And then getting into the CG, I know this is going to be an issue for a lot of people. As they saw when the trailer came out, people went, whoa, what is that? Why have you done that? If you have a look at the original Standalone Complex series, which was great, I'll give you a clip there to have a look at, or the original Akira, or the other films, you'll see the difference here. This is very polished CG and doesn't seem right for it, and I can understand why. Even though a lot of the characters have cybernetic enhancements, they still have human characteristics, and with this polished CG, there's a lot that you don't get from them. There's an emotional lack to kind of really get to grips with what's happening with your characters. Even though most of the time the Major is not very forthcoming with her emotions, but there were times where you get what she's going through, because there are subtleties that are shown with her body language, with her facial movements, and the other characters as well. But unfortunately, because the CG is so polished, it's very hard to get emotionally engaged with these characters, because they are that polished. They look like mannequins. They look like those characters that have just come out of the oven, that have just been built from Westworld, that milk, as is right with the world of Ghost in the Shell. But here it just feels like they're still not quite done yet, if that makes sense. They don't feel alive, and that is why the CG doesn't quite work for this one. The story is okay. It's interesting. It gets going. It takes its time get going, but around the fourth episode in, there's an interesting kind of turn, and then as you get to meet characters that you've liked, if you've been along this journey with the Ghost in the Shell, the Standalone Complex, then you'll feel somewhat satisfied, because it's like seeing friends again. But I feel like there are some people that are like, woohoo, just because we're getting more from that world, but at the same time they're like, woohoo, because it's not quite what they wanted. So although if you're a fan of Ghost in the Shell, you're probably like, yeah, we got more Ghost in the Shell, but then you see what you get, you're like, okay, what is this? There are tanks in this series, especially in this CG, that have more personality than the actual human more personality than the Major or any of the other new characters like Clown, which is saying a lot. Kind of negative feedback for this series, because I think the CG looks fine. As a, we have so many CG animated or anime series now. This seems to be the way that everybody's going. And sometimes it doesn't work, and I feel like this is one of those times. Don't get me wrong, there are moments when CG really shines, and backgrounds, colourful, dynamic shots, which is fun to see. But for the most part, the characters look very bland, and for the most part, the world feels very sparse and empty. Even though we know we're on extinction level, it just feels unfinished. It feels like we're watching clips from a PS3 game or a PSP game. It's that what it reminds me of. So it feels like we're behind a generation. They haven't known what to do with it. But this is coming from the veteran creators, so you have to think that actually this is where they want to go with the technology. So maybe you'll be invested in the story more than the character design. Maybe you will like the inflections and what they've done with this new kind of way of CG and story combination. I, for one, was taken aback more than I thought I would be. Because I'm a huge fan of the Ghost in the Shell film, especially the original. I think it's one of my favorite. I watch it every now and again when I just want to watch a great anime film. It'll be that, Akira, Ninja Scroll, just depending on what I'm in the mood for. But yeah, Cowboy and Bebop, another one. But this one, I struggled with. I like where the story goes in the end, and I like the team and the new members. I think that's all fine, but the way they've mixed the CG, it is a sore point for me. Also, let's talk about the intro theme. What on earth is that? The world gone round. That bizarre. I'm not a fan. So I'm a mixed bag. Some of the story is fine. Some of the characters is fine. I would give this a C+. Let me know in the comments below what you thought about this new standalone complex 2045. Do you think that they've gone the right direction, or should they go back to the original way that they used to do things? Yeah, who's your favorite character now? Is it still Major, or is it the tanks? Thanks so much for watching this review. Let me know in the comments below what you thought about it. But most of all, until next time, remember, live long and Tuesday.